Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be putting an airbag suspension on our 2021 F-150 Powerboost Hybrid. We sold our camper and we ordered a new one. The tongue weight's just it's a little higher than I expected it to be. So I wanted to be able to offset that, that push on the back of the truck a little bit, keep the truck a little more level without having to depend as much on the weight distribution hitch. Yeah, so let's get into the install. All right, so what I've already done is I've already unboxed all this. And I've actually done a little bit of assembly in the house just because it's winter and it's cold. It's like 35 degrees out right now. So inside the box, you've got instructions. You've got all your mounting bolts and hardware, some zip ties. That's pretty much it. And then we got some hoses. I've already cut this in half. I'm going to do a split connection. So I've got, basically two separate air hoses instead of, I'm not using a T. Let's see. Got some of the brackets. And then, like I said, what I've done is I've kind of pre-assembled some of this inside the house. Looks like, so this is the bracket that we'll use for the air fittings. Those a couple zip ties. And then inside we've got, these are not needed for this install. These are spacers for if you've got a two-wheel drive truck. And I think there was a mention of like if you got a lift kit or something, there's some special instructions, but mine's just stock four-wheel drive. So, and then got some more brackets, and then that's it. Then you got these guys. So you'll notice these have a long tab on it. Really, all these are is handles. So we're going to end up bending these either with your hands or, in a vice grip or something like that. And then really the important part here is the plate with the nut. And these are going to be what's inside your frame for this the bracket to bolt to. So we'll get into that. One thing overall, as far as the unboxing goes, I was kind of surprised how crappy, if that's the right word, is, the shape of this stuff was. It's covered in like sand and dust and stuff. Like I almost thought these were used. Let me know if I'm wrong, but it could be left over from the manufacturing process because I saw a bunch of other videos and pictures online and they all kind of look the same to me. So, hopefully it's not used. It looked like it was all sealed up and it had like a, Firestone sticker on the outside. So, hopefully it holds air. But what I'm going to talk about next is how I put these together and a couple little things to keep an eye on because the instructions are not very good. So let me zoom in here to one of these brackets and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to try to show you guys the instruction manual and what the picture looks like here. Let's see if you guys can see it. All right, so like I said, instructions are not the greatest. First thing that I noticed, and sorry it's a little blurry, is right here. You got the hole for the air fitting, and then there's no mention of 4 holes here. There's literally, it just looks like 2 holes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 on this one. So you don't really know where to line it up. What I've found, and hopefully you're going to figure it out right away, because once you go to mount it up, if things are offset, you're going to say, oh, obviously I've got to move this over. The trick is, a couple tips is, on this new one, this wasn't possible on the old ones. The air fitting now, if you can see that, can actually rotate. So that's great because that means you can actually put this fitting on, the air fitting on first, then drop this plate over it. Whereas before, the old model, it was difficult because you had to drop this plate on first and then put this on, and as you can see, you wouldn't be able to get a wrench on there very easily. So, so I'm glad that they put the swivel mount on there. That's a lot nicer. So quick edit of the video here. I had these up here backwards on the truck, so I had to reshoot this part a little bit. I just want to make sure I tell you guys the right thing. So the the brackets, like an easy way to know which side faces the truck is this lip faces out on top or on the bottom. Is you can just kind of see it more of a lip that would go flat against the truck. I've got the, I don't know if you can see that in here. Yeah, you can a little bit. But I've got the air nozzles pointed in reverse to go towards the back of the truck. And then these brackets are actually going to be biased backwards a little bit. So just an easy way to remember is if you're looking at the rear side of the truck is going to have the hole, okay? So rear side truck has a hole, point your air hose in reverse, and you also, another way, if you're gonna, you're gonna know right away if it's correct or not, because, and I'll move the camera over here in a second to show you. If it was backwards, the bottom bracket would not fit nicely over the springs. So you'll know pretty quickly if something seems offset or at the wrong angle, then you definitely need to go back and check. What I did, was I kind of looked at some other people's videos because nobody was really clear on this with the 4-hole position, and especially with the new swivel air fittings there. I kind of went back and paused on that section. So if you're looking at this, so this is my driver's side one facing rear, and this is my passenger side one facing rear. So like I said, holes in the back. And then let's move over and actually get that, put in the right spot. All right, before we even get that far, we need to remove the jounce bumper. It's basically like a bump stop for if the truck bottoms out. So let me, I'm using a 14 millimeter. That's just all I had around. I'm sure there's an SAE size that will work just as well. Let's see. I already loosened it up a little bit, so I just want to make sure that was actually going to move with this this size. Because the new suspension is actually going to end up going right up into that hole, and this is approximately where the airbag suspension will live from now on. So we just need to remove this. There we go. It's a long bolt. All right. You might want to use like a drill, like an impact drill or impact wrench or something like that, instead of using it by hand. All right. So one thing I didn't mention is make sure you keep that bolt that we removed from the jounce bumper, because you will need that for this step. So the next thing is to get the bracket on there, and before you even use those little the kind of plates that I mentioned earlier, what we're going to do, make sure you get the right side. I'm on the driver's side, so it's going to be left. If you're facing the front of the vehicle, well, facing forward in the vehicle, I should say. So left side is driver's side, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the bolt from the jounce bumper. That's going to go up through the bottom here, and it's going to go right into where the jounce bumper came out. So that's I'm going to hop under the truck here and see if we can get that in there. Let me see what size that is. Oh, well, it's the same size I just took out. All right, it is the same bolt after all. I would suggest wearing some safety glasses when you're doing this, because there's all kinds of like dirt and salt from the road and everything else falling in my face right now. See if I can finish it from here. Okay. All right. So next step is to get those brackets in there. So let me switch positions here. So here's another example of what I don't like about the manual. If I just looked at those two brackets with the little handle on them, I would think, oh, those just go on the other side of the frame here, and this goes all the way through the hole. That's not the case. You actually are inserting these inside the frame itself, and then they'll actually be pressed up against on the inside wall of this part of the frame. So let's hop under the truck, and I'll show you, how to kind of get those in there, and bend them in the right position, and then get them in there, and then we'll try to get this the frame bracket put on there. All right, so right there, so that's about, that hole is basically right above where the jounce bumper was. So that's the hole that we're gonna feed our brackets into. Let me see if I can show you it actually going in. So we're gonna feed these in here like this, and then we're gonna try to use the handle here to angle it into the right spot so that the bolt can actually, oops, I think I lost, oh no. So that way we can, get them in the right position there. All right, this was a big pain in the butt, and I'll show you why. On my truck, where the hole is that you're supposed to use is exactly where the brake lines go through from the front of the truck. Also, I thought, okay, that's fine. I've got, and it's not, they're not rubbing on the brake lines. It fits exactly in there. I'm not going to leave it this way though, because obviously I don't want, like, over time these rubbing and then cutting a hole in it. But I thought, okay, great. I'll put one in, the lip will stick out down here, and then the other one I'm going to have it like come out at an angle so they don't hit each other. Because if you leave them at a 45-degree angle, they'll collide if they're at the same level. Unfortunately, the bracket is designed so that it's really supposed to sit nice and flat on the bottom of the frame, which means you can't really go in from the top because your square is going to be at an angle and it won't actually go all the way down to where the bolt hole is. So they have to be kind of resting along the bottom of the hole, which does make it easier if these weren't in the way. So the other side is going to be a lot easier because these brake lines just go down the driver's side, not the passenger side. So that sucked. But what I'll do is I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to snug these up. Like I said, don't over tighten the bolts on these from the outside. But and then what I'm going to do is just going to either cut these off or just bend them in, or kind of hammer them in so that they're not going to be rubbing on the brake lines. So I'll clean these up in a minute. But just wanted to show you the kind of how difficult that could be. Perhaps, I don't know, I haven't tried it, perhaps not starting with the jounce bumper bolt, and having this all snugged up, maybe that would make it easier, because then you'd be able to kind of see. I don't know. I didn't try it that way. But yeah, hopefully the next one goes a little smoother. And try not to scratch the truck all up, because it is a little snug getting this in here. What I found is kind of, if you go towards the front, there's a little hole there, and then you can kind of slide it in. So this will should set nicely right on your leaf springs, so it's kind of just rested in there. And like I said, you'll know that because these lined up real nice, and this is nice and flat. So that's good confirmation, just to test fit it, make sure it's actually, everything looks good. So next step is to take your four of your 3/8 inch bolts and your 3/8 inch flange nuts, and you're going to use only on the sides of the truck bracket. You're going to see 1, 2, 3 holes. Only use the bottom 2. Ignore the top hole, and make the bolts go outward with the nuts on the outside. So I'm going to kind of do that off camera here and get them all situated, and then I'll show you once it's all right. So that only took a minute. Oops, sorry, I'm pointing the camera in the wrong direction. So you can see we've got top hole empty, bottom 2 populated, and those are nice and tightened up facing outward, and then same thing on the other side. And then right now I'm not really resting on the springs, and that's because, like I said earlier, I've got the parking brake on and the truck jacked up just so I had more space when I was underneath it. So the next step is going to be I'm going to drop the truck back down, and then we'll put those brackets on. So the next step is under there, you've got, see the hole there in the bottom right corner? What we're going to do is we're going to put a bail clamp from the springs facing upward, and then we'll put a flange nut on both sides. So you've got hole here, and then 2 on the other side. So pretty simple. So I ended up completing this last night. My battery died, so I couldn't record the second side, but as you can see, I've got everything in there, and strapped to the spring, strap up to the frame on both sides. I've got my the airline ran to the back, and what I want to do now is, and I'll show you guys the airline when I go under, because what we need to do now is do a soap test. So it's just a 1 soap to 3 water ratio. And we just want to spray, we're just looking for leaks. So we're looking for anything bubbling up. Because if we see bubbles, then that's a problem. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm not even showing you guys what I'm doing. So we'll let that sit for a second. We'll get kind of get the sides here. I'll get underneath it as well. Just trying to get the parts that I couldn't get from here. And also get up into your, where the hose connector, the hose gets in there. So you're making sure you're not looking for any, you'll see some bubbles coming out if there's a leak. Again, I'll get the connector. Seen anything yet, but let's hop underneath and then I can show you guys how I ran that too. All right, so here's where I've got, no, it's super close. Here, let me do like a wider angle. All right, so this is how I've got the connector. I was trying to get these like so that with all the salt and snow and stuff, it's kind of like pointed upward and out of the way. Unfortunately, that means that your hose lines are kind of hanging down, and I don't want debris to hit those, so I think I'm going to remount this so that it's back the way it was in the instruction manual. So this is pointing down. Plus, unless you've got a 90 degree, which I do, but in case I'm in a position where I don't want this to get stuck and I can't put any air in it. Okay, so let's get underneath here. So not the best wiring job or running the cable. I ran it up above the frame for the spare tire. It only came with 3 zip ties for each side, so I figured just one at both ends and place in the middle was probably sufficient. So you can see where it goes in there. So let's spray this side. The other way I'm kind of checking is, so what I've done is I've cranked it up to 75 psi, which is what the instructions say. And then, I'm going to let it sit like overnight and see if there's any loss over time like that. And honestly, I've never had bags before, so I'm not really sure what the expected, time that it's supposed to keep the air is. Sorry. Actually, you guys might be able to see better than I can on this side. I'm not seeing any bubbles yet, but you really want to let it sit because they'll start foaming up pretty good if you have a real problem. But yeah, like I said, so there's the other side. Ran it, again, over to the spare tire and then back down to the splitter here. I didn't do a T, and the reason is because I didn't really, A, the instructions say not to, and then B, I didn't want, like the theory is, okay, let's say the vehicle's, putting a lot of pressure on this side. It'll transfer that pressure over to the other side. I kind of, in my opinion, I don't want that. I want both sides to have their own, kind of volume of air that is a constant pressure. I don't want it shifting from one side to the other, because that, to me, would make more roll. But you guys probably know more than I do about this stuff. So, let me know in the comments below if you're, have an opinion either way. Okay, so one other thing that I ran into on this side, so like I said, the far side, so the driver's side, I should say, was very difficult because of those 2 brake lines that went through there. I ended up cutting those off, and here, let me show you what the difference is between them. So on this side, you will see, let's see if I can find, I'll have to crawl back under. There we go. So right there in the center is, those are like the little handles from those other two brackets or whatever you want to call them, the mounting plates. And then on this side, up there, let's see if I can zoom back in a little bit. See how they're just cut off? And that was because they actually came out through the middle of those two brake lines. So I did end up just cutting those off. They are probably 1.5 inches away from the brake lines, so I'm fine with that because those aren't going to go anywhere. Other than that, on this side, so the passenger side, I did have a problem with one of the bolts. So let me pop back up there. So if you remember, you've got, let's see if you guys can see it better than I can. You've got that bolt, and then there's one on the other side. This one specifically, there was a little piece of frame that was like, it was almost like a two-piece frame, like where there's like a little piece of metal sticking out. Oops, sorry. Little piece of metal sticking out. I did have to cut that away a little bit on the hole that I used for this one. It was, oops, sorry, right there. It was very, very minimal. The bolt wouldn't set in there straight, so that was, that was a problem. So hopefully you found that video helpful. Overall, if I had to summarize the process, unboxing, like I said, it was a little dirty inside. I don't know why. Could be leftover material from the manufacturing process. So don't get surprised if it looks kind of nasty in there. All the parts were just kind of just shoved in the box. No padding or anything, but it was all in good shape. Getting those like wing nut things, in the chassis, into the frame, that was a lot more challenging than I expected. I don't ever want to do it again, but I probably will if I, swap out the truck with another one. But yeah, overall, I'd say it was, just because of that, it was kind of moderate difficulty. If it without that difficulty, it would have been easy. But overall, not too painful, but we'll see. I'm actually picking up our new RV tomorrow, so we'll see how how it tows, and see kind of some of what the differences are between having the airbags versus not. But yeah, hopefully you guys found this video informative. I know it was a little long. Do apologize. I wanted to kind of do a full walkthrough, and then if I'll probably do a summary video that's a little shorter after this. So stay tuned for that. All right, take it easy.